The Western device of democracy is by itself very flawed. Why Africans have bought into the Western conception, I do not understand. By its very nature, democracy is very messy.
I'm a king. Yes.
President Jomo Kenyatta came up with an allegory, and I will add a little bit of embellishment. So the animals were wondering, why were they living, exposing themselves to rain, to sun, to mosquito bites? And they decided, okay, let's behave like human beings and build our own houses. Yes, Fox built this house, and like you and me, he called for a housewarming party. And when the party was over, Lion said, before the count of 3, Fox, I want you to leave this house. 1, 2, he ran away. And that was the end of his investment. Well, he summoned courage again and said, okay, I will build another house. When the party was over, Hyena said, before the count of 3, I want you to leave. He lost his house. Then he built the biggest house, and he called another party. Unknown to them, he has set up a system that will burn down the house. So they were all in, and he took an excuse, and he set the entire house on fire. The tiger died, the lion died, the hyena died. And President Jomo Kenyatta converted the allegory that if there is no justice, there's not going to be peace. Power sharing is connected with corruption. Because the very basis of sharing power in many situations is to allocate authority and resources to yourself. Constitutions are always product of conflicts and wars. So if you see American Constitution, after the American Civil War, you renegotiate. If you look at the South African Constitution, the context of apartheid, so that you are trying to see how you can manage serious problems via the agency of a constitution. And in trying to manage these things, we are dealing with pluralism, that you have many ethnic groups, religious identities. We don't even look alike. You have to deal even with color differences, racial differences, gender differences. So plural societies are very difficult to manage. Second, dual societies. Rwanda, where our friend won 98.5% of the vote. You know that is not possible. You know, even if you go to heaven, Satans live there, angels live there, good Christians like me will go to heaven, bad Christians like some of you will go to hell. So how can I win 98.5%? There is no theoretician that has given us any document to manage a dual society. I'm Hutu, you are Tutsi. Am I not going to vote for the Hutu? If you are Tutsi, are you not going to vote for a Tutsi candidate? So by its very nature, dual societies are complicated. The Western device of democracy is by itself very flawed. Why Africans have bought into the Western conception, I do not understand. By its very nature, democracy is very messy. Contrary to what you read in books, that unites you, it actually does the opposite. Democracy revives religious identities. It revives gender identities. It revives religious identities. It revives everything that will divide you. That's what it does. See the forthcoming American presidential election. That democracy will bring out the worst in society. Racism, immigration. As this election unfolds, you will see how what they call democracy actually produces what will create a war. America, the US that many of you celebrate, the reason why it doesn't have civil war issues is that the boundaries of states, California, Texas, are not coterminous with the boundaries of ethnicities. You understand? If, for instance, Texas is just Hispanic only, Louisiana is just black only, California is just white only, they will behave exactly like Nigeria and Chad. When you now bring this democracy to us without interrogating it, it's going to bring the worst in us as well. The last Nigerian election, are you Igbo? Are you Yoruba? Are you Fulani? Are you Hausa? Those are the fundamental premises. And you find how this democracy itself has produced political factionalism in this great country. You have ideological differences. You are a Marxist. You are a capitalist. This is your ideology. That is ideology you are going to fight. Because ideologies by their nature produce that fight. As in my first allegory, between the goats and the lions, they cannot be together. One is a vegetarian, right? And the other eats only flesh. Then you have policy agendas. At any level, family, local, national, international, policy agendas are never going to be the same. So your wife wants to drive a nice car, Mercedes-Benz, right? That is going to generate a fight if you want a Camry. There's just nothing you can do about that. Policy agendas always create problems. Leadership and personalities are very, very complicated. Politicians are the grandmasters of deceit. There is no honest politician anywhere in the world. You understand? None. It's a business of betrayal. And the process of producing that leadership is very complicated. Impact of governance. So, whether it's South Africa or Nigeria or the US, leadership is connected to interest, to the factions you want to improve, to the money you want to steal. Because you can never tell a politician not to steal money. If he doesn't steal money, he's not going to get to heaven. That is their own business. And the theories of factionalism is that it produces internal conflicts while it promises to resolve conflicts. You understand? It's a mechanism to resolve conflict, but it generates its own conflicts. As you have to challenge one another. 2 days ago, I was listening to Parliament. I was fascinated by what they're talking about. One parliamentarian wants the police to expand. Another wants the army to expand. Another for mine workers. Another for school system. They're just talking. Nothing is going to happen. It's very entertaining, but if you think that budget is going to change, you're just deceiving yourself. Because if you say, I want the police to expand, then they will ask you, where should we take the money from? Because they cannot hide money They cannot spend what they don't have unless you want to go and print money. Then you are going to fight over alliances. You can't overcome that. And you fight over personality issues, and you fight other things. How do these things now apply to this great country? They've released the document, which is on the internet. What they mean, how to dissolve it. It's very brilliant if you read it. They talk about the modalities of the government of national unity, and they publicize this. Let me make 5 points each on 3 aspects. That there's an historical context for this government of national unity. Because after it emerged from decades of struggle against apartheid, the Mandela government was formed that way. Second, there have been leadership battles. Within 24 hours, some months ago, the president was even about to resign. Zuma left. President Mbeki did not complete his term. So that leadership battles will never end. If you are looking for an end to leadership battle, you are saying that human beings must not have ambitions. And you are not going to have a collection of human beings without ambitions. All of us in this room have ambitions. They may even be noble, as that of my mother, that my mother's ambition was to make the children successful, but was even very difficult. We are going to have policy disputes. That's point number 5. How can we all sit in this room and not have policy disputes? It's not possible. I'm a professor. I want all money to go to education. But that's my own preference. But you're a businessman. You query the value of education. You will say, all these historians that you have been producing, what are they used for? Why can't we establish another brewery so that people will drink more beer? That's a policy. And I cannot stop you from having those policies and having those ambitions, but they will generate crisis. And we are divided by religion. We are divided by race. We are divided by ethnicity. We have to fight. Policies are connected to those divisions. They are connected to those divisions. And the way we evaluate the impact of governance is also based on self-interest. If we have been privileged to steal $20 million from the government, it's a good government. If we fix bad roads, it's a good government. The cracks on the roads, the potholes. I know a person who became a millionaire on potholes. During the night, he and his boys would go and create potholes. And to those who give him contract, that's a good government. A government that makes you a millionaire fixing potholes, that is the government to cherish. And as we map out all these differences, our interests are different. What are the current challenges that this government of national unity is going to have? Economic inequality is there. It is not an arrangement that will solve this economic inequality. If you know how a government of national unity can solve economic inequality, they should actually pay you. Second, it is not going to eliminate corruption. It can reduce the amount that comes to your pocket, because if you do not spread corruption to the parties in coalition and to the leadership of that coalition, it's going to collapse. You have to give the Zuma party something. You have to give the ANC something. You have to give the other small parties something. How you do that is part of how you stabilize the government and manage it. Then you have issues around social cohesion. And that social cohesion will merge with issues around social delivery. And it's not going to solve issues of crime and violence. But there are opportunities. The demographic dividend will continue. The natural resources are not just going to disappear. Elements of democratic institutions are not going to disappear. So how do we move forward? The government must embark on economic reform. They must do anti-corruption efforts. At least, they must create a perception to their citizens that they are not corrupt. And they must do social investment in education and healthcare, safety and security. And they must do everything to produce political stability. Otherwise, the country can move in the direction of crisis. So the future of this great country lies in how the collective efforts of governments are managed, how you balance the interest of power with that of civil society, how you let private sector be functional without being corrupt, and how citizens must believe that their social contracts have not been violated. I've spoken for too long, but there was nobody to monitor the moderator. Thank you.
I'm a king, oh, yes, I'm a king, oh, I think I'm a king, oh.